AITA for shutting my sister out after she told our mom something I admitted to her in confidence. My sister, 15F, and I, 16F, lost our dad 8 years ago. 4 years ago our mom remarried. Her husband came with 2 kids of his own, 11 meters, and 7F, and they have a baby together, 4M. I admitted to my sister a while ago that I hadn't been on board when our mom first told us she was getting married again, and that I really only accept it for her, but not for me. I admitted I don't love them or see them the same as I see her, mom or dad, and that I will probably always be detached because this is not the way I would have ever chosen my family to me. But I don't want to ruin mom's happiness. I admitted this to her because my sister always suspected. She noticed differences, remembered how I would always invite her into my bed when she had nightmares versus not really doing anything like that if one of our stepsiblings did, or how I am affectionate with her and not them or our half-brother, and how I never really tell our mom's husband anything about me like I do mom, and how most stuff comes through her to him. She pressed and I was honest. I told her not to tell them because it didn't need to be a big deal. She promised she wouldn't. Well, she told our mom pretty much everything. And then my mom decided the 3 of us, me, her and her husband, need family therapy so they can figure out a way to get me to welcome them into my heart the way she wants me to. And now I'm stuck in family therapy with them trying to achieve a goal I don't want to achieve. And I am so pissed off with my sister. She told me she did it so we could be one big happy family, and I told her she betrayed my trust and she can never ever expect me to come to her again because I know she won't keep a promise to herself. She was upset, and now she's even more upset because I am not the same with her anymore. The way I look at it is she broke my trust when I wasn't going to tell her anyway. But then she pushed and then promised to keep it, and she didn't. My mom told me I'm being mean and that my sister did the right thing telling her. She told me I should have been open with her so we could have done therapy together sooner. I told her I never wanted to go to therapy with them and I didn't want this big deal being made out of it. She told me that regardless, I shouldn't shut my sister out and it's hurtful and mean. AITA? NTA. But be honest in therapy. The therapist may be able to set your mom straight about not being able to force family feelings. NTA. Your mother and your sister are for trying to force something. Take a try at therapy and see if you can find a happy spot for you, and if it doesn't work you need to show your mother that if she didn't realize for over 4 years, it means that you are respectful to the rest of your family and you have preferences, and that isn't a bad thing. Wow. I'm sorry Op. NTA, and I don't blame you for feeling like she broke your trust because that's exactly what she did. I think they're well-meaning, but you can't force someone to feel something they don't, and it sounds like you were treating everyone respectfully. Relationships take time and they're going about this by pushing you. I'm sorry. I don't have advice. Therapy may be good, but individual therapy, not group. NTA. Being betrayed sucks. You don't have to trust anyone, let alone someone who proved themselves untrustworthy. Nah. You're 16 and your sister is 15. I am not going to insult your intelligence or maturity by pointing out how young you both are, but please keep that in mind. You sound mature for your age. And your sister sounds like a 15-year-old trying to understand the dynamic of what's going on and look to her big sister. She was misguided and wrong for what she did, but not malicious. Your anger isn't wrong or not warranted, but use that advanced maturity for some perspective. Your mom and stepdad or whatever. Deal with the therapy, but be clear that you don't want to be there. Your sister, on the other hand, deserves a hug and a talk about how you and her are a team and need to have each other's back. She didn't do something to hurt you. She thought, with her 15 years old brain, that she was actually helping. The fact that you don't want to have a relationship with the other party should be a good indicator. Therapy won't work. I mean, it's only going to help if people are willing to do so. And the fact they are doing it against your will. I feel angry for you. Yes. I bet your sister wants you to like them. But did she honestly think this was going to work? However, I would give some time and have another discussion with your sister. She's young. She thought she was doing something that would help. And it's obvious it didn't. I'm completely with actions have consequences. But if she has done nothing like this prior, it could have been a fault in judgment. I'd just consider that. NTA. There is nothing wrong with how you feel. Your mom and stepdad should not be validating their feelings by invalidating yours. Your sister broke your trust and a promise she made to you. You don't have to forgive her, and it doesn't make you an asshole if you don't. It's up to you when you trust her again, if ever. And up to her to prove to you she's trustworthy. Your sister and family don't get to dictate your feelings or timeline for acceptance. You were also already one big happy family before your sister meddled. You were fine with your stepfamily in your own way and respected them. It also doesn't seem that anyone was complaining or bothered about your behavior before your sister's confession. Nah. You do need therapy. You all do. That doesn't mean it's okay to betray each other's trust or force someone to do something they don't want. It's also not cool to let your preferential treatment cause emotional damage to your step and half family. You and your sister are both very young and still learning what is and isn't okay. This is a complicated situation. Your sister recognized preferential treatment, which is likely to cause damage to your other siblings, especially if they see you in full as a sister. She was worried for you and about losing you if you were to turn your back on the family as an adult later on, which is approaching fast. It could also influence your sister's perspective on those family members. That baby is likely to grow up admiring you and being heartbroken that you don't care. And they'll eventually pick up on it the same way your sister did. Your step-siblings may not have picked up on it yet. But retrospection is a bitch and a blessing. There are better ways to handle this all the way around. But everyone makes mistakes. Family therapy would help everyone properly come to a mutual understanding. But again, this should be a choice. Nah. Look. You're 16 and your sister is 15. I totally see a scenario where you interpret things into being forced to love your step-family and you feel you were perfectly happy before. But that may not be the case. Your sister noticed things. She may not be the only one. You may seem unhappy and you may be actively hurting your step-family. You don't have to love them, but if you're especially cold and distant when you don't have to be, yes, you may need some family therapy for your sake and the rest of your family. Just be clear in your own needs in therapy. No competent therapist will even think they can make you love your family. You are obviously unhappy. So take advantage of this to be honest with your own feelings, because up until now, you've admitted you've been sacrificing them for your mother's sake. Going NTA. So long as you weren't being overly mean or openly disrespectful to your step-family members. You're not required to treat them like your mother or sister if you don't want to. And your mother trying to force it won't help. My parents have been happily married 42 years. And I love them both. But there are definitely still times. I'm 35. Where I'll tell mom something and say, please don't tell dad yet, or, can you tell dad this thing? You're better at getting stuff to fit in his head. And I don't really blame you on your sister. Trust is very important, and she blatantly broke yours. So again, so long as you're not being overtly mean, rude, you're not required to just snap back to how you were before. Are you planning to head to college or anything where you'd be able to move out when you're 18? That'd make this whole thing easier. Since if you're not under the same roof, it's harder to try and force relationships. NTA. The fact that you're even here and writing about this tells us you don't feel validated. Your feelings are valid. They are okay. Let yourself feel however you feel. And when the feeling wants to pass, take a deep breath and let it go. NTA. What you told her in confidence should have stayed that way. Also, there's nothing wrong with how you feel. Could it be extremely disappointing to your mom, stepdad, step-siblings? Yes. And that's totally valid. But it doesn't make you an awe. Family therapy really only works if all the parties involved have a desire to reach the same shared outcome. Maybe you should use therapy as a springboard to share what kind of relationship you do want with your stepfamily. I think there can be equal parts you being open to them and them changing their expectations to reflect your feelings. NTA. There wasn't anything wrong with your feelings. And your mom and sister are tough for trying to force this on you. It's completely understandable why you'd be wary of confiding in your sister again. She used something you told her in confidence to manipulate you into getting the family she wants. Nah. Up. I think it's important for you to understand that it's not wrong for your sibling to want a big, happy family, or for your mom to want her daughter to accept her siblings. It's understandable that you're angry at the situation. Your sister's actions were wrong, but honestly they're mostly misguided. I understand that you don't want to go to family therapy, but it would really help you to give it a chance and explore why you feel the way you feel. And if at the end of it, you still do not want the family, then you're anyway going to move out soon and it won't be an issue. Also, considering that your sister caught up with the difference in your behavior towards your siblings, it's very likely that they will too. So please try to be mindful of that. I am so sorry for your loss and I really wish the best for you. NTA. And I have to say that you make a very reasonable argument. You weren't being a downer. You just weren't interested in a relationship with people that you did not choose. And your sister did betray your trust. But you're not saying you hate her, only that you cannot trust her anymore. I think you should let your mom and stepfather know that you are not likely to change your mind. You will still treat everyone with respect. But you get to decide how you react to situations in your life. Let them know in therapy so the therapist is aware. After that, it's just a couple of years and your decisions are your own. NTA. But I have a bit of commentary after my justification of this. You told your sister something in confidence and she broke that trust if she really felt so strongly about you making a connection so you could all be happy. She could have tried talking to you more. Getting you to see that while your stepdad isn't a replacement for your dad. He loves the lot of you and he's trying to be there for you. Take that however you will. You're not the asshole for telling your sister you don't feel comfortable confiding in her and closing off some more sensitive feelings from her. As a former child and family therapist, request an individual session with that therapist and tell them exactly what you've said here. Any therapist worth their weight would take your mom and stepfather aside and say you cannot force your child to feel any particular way about a stepparent or stepsiblings. They may already be doing that. It's something you will come to in your own time if you choose. All they can and should do is try to build a positive relationship with you. As much as they may want to. Parents cannot control their child's feelings. I imagine part of your disconnect from them is that you may not have a positive relationship with your step-family members or you weren't given room to really express your feelings about your father's passing. You were also always allowed to have a special place in your heart for your dad and how your family looked before. We are literally trained that the family member who is the reason for therapy is never the problem. By the way, but I wouldn't bring that up. If the therapist doesn't back you up, it might be subtle and hard to see. Focused on them changing how they interact with you, or behind closed-door sessions with your mom and stepfather. Please don't let that deter you from future therapy. Therapy as an adult looks a whole lot different than it does when you are a minor. I imagine there could be a lot of family stuff beyond this that you might need to talk about in the future, in addition to grief related to your dad, which you will understand differently as you grow. Nah. It's completely normal for you to not feel an attachment to your new family. It's also healthy for your mother to suggest family therapy in hopes of exploring why that is. In case there may be some unresolved issues or resentment with the passing of your father. Feelings you may not even be fully aware of. While I understand you wanting this to remain in confidence, I don't think your sister did something necessarily wrong. I can't speak to your sister's intent since I'm not a mind reader. But sometimes our secrets can be self-destructive. You have plainly admitted to effectively cutting off your family outside of your sister before this incident when it comes to getting to know you, or receiving any sort of affection. You've decided that's fine and there's nothing wrong. I think there very clearly is something wrong. No. You don't owe anyone your attention or affection. But the reality is that these people are your family now, and not giving them a chance to get close suggests you have an issue with their being a part of your family, and it deserves a crack at therapy. The fact that you've all but stated you have no interest in getting close with your 4-month-old brother suggests there are resentment issues. Saying it's not a big deal does not mean it is not a big deal. You're definitely NTA. However, if my daughter felt the way you did, I probably would insist on therapy. Not necessarily to find a way for you to accept your new family dynamic, but rather to make sure you feel comfortable in your home with the new family dynamic. And while I completely understand your disappointment with your sister, she didn't do it out of malice, but concern. That being said, she'll still need to earn back your trust. I just read about your situation, not what happened with your sister. But I can tell you I had a similar experience. It took me 5 years to really accept my mom's new man. I didn't like him for years because he was not my father. However, as I grew older, I started to understand and am now really cool with him. I wish you the best and am sure that at some point, if he's a good man, you'll appreciate him too and develop a good relationship with him. Much love and have a great day.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.